Hey everybody, this is Perch. I just got done with having a coffee with a friend who runs a bookstore, was manager, I guess, for a book shop. It's Barnes& and Noble. I don't think I'm revealing any secrets there. So it doesn't run the shop, but runs the location of the, you know what? You get what I mean. I'm trying to get right to the point, by the way. I've started to listen to more videos from other channels and other things. And I always hate this, this first minute of just I don't mind the nonsense stories like some kind of anecdotal story about you know gardening or whatever is that's kind of entertaining or provides color. It's the first minute of subscribe to my channel. Here's my crowdfunding thing. Here's my Patreon. Hey, did you know you can give money to me this way? It's like I need a like YouTube. Can you put in like a skip to the content button here? I realize I'm doing it right now, but by complaining about this anyway. So talking to this friend and basically my question was this. So this is what came to it. I got sent a tweet by someone who was pointing out that there is a YA book that is out, and the YA book has over 6,800 likes, 31 quote tweets, 1,153 retweets. You read the comments, and you see, congratulations, looking forward to picking up my copy. Oh my God, I'm so proud. This is going to sell amazing. This is great. And you have to think to yourself, wow, this book's a hit. And yet, if you go look at the same book and you use the Amazon calculator, which we've shown here before and is freely available, you can plug it in. This book has been out for 1 week and it's selling about 4 copies a day in all formats: paperback, hardcover, digital, everything. 4 copies a day after a week. So what does that tell us? Well, it tells us that the Twitter likes and retweets and wow, good job is not translating to sales. Now, granted, this book has sold more places than Amazon, but Amazon is clearly the big one. This is not at Target, not at Walmart, not in those channels. So you're really down to Barnes and Noble, you're down to Amazon, you're down to comic shops. Well, Amazon is going to order more or basically have more sales in comic shops. And Barnes and Noble this leads to the conversation I was having. So we were talking about this, and we're basically, I was saying, how do people come in and buy books? Because this is one of the things that I struggle with. And how do you get people to come in and know that a book exists? I have this belief that there's tons of comic book fans out there that they're kind of dimly aware that comics are a thing, that they still exist. I don't believe that story that people don't even know they're printing comic books anymore. People know that there's comics. There's been enough movies and everything. You have that Marvel Comics logo, which would have the flipping pages for a while, and like everybody knows there's comics. Yes, even still comics. I defy anyone. Somebody will have to prove to me that a good portion of the population has somehow believes there's no comic books whatsoever. People are aware of the existence of books. They know. It's just not compelling enough for them to go buy them. And I do think there's a problem like, where am I supposed to go buy these books? Comic shops are not exactly easy to find in most cases. And, I can get the graphic novels, but increasingly, and this is what I'm pointing out to my friend as we look over at the shelf, most of those shelves are dedicated to manga. The manga in this particular Barnes & Noble is now 22 shelves to 2. Then there's a third shelf that has kind of independent, like, history books and coloring stuff that's vaguely U.S. comic related, but they're not graphic novels. They're accompaniments to graphic novels. And the comment I got back, so I was pointing this out, like, what do you say about this tweet? And this person says the same thing that I've heard many times before, which is, of course, Barnes and Noble has a Twitter account, a social media account, and that they've tried doing advertising that way, and still, with the publishers, they send out things to tweet, and they'll tweet them. But they've done studies, they've done tests, where basically they put coupons or offer codes or screenshot this tweet and take it into Barnes and Noble and get an extra 20% off. And basically the result was this had happened so rarely that somebody brought in a screenshot of a tweet a couple weeks ago and people thought it was fake. It took some convincing to show that no, this was a legitimate offer because nobody used it. And the comment that came back was, no, nobody is paying attention. The likes and the attention on social media is not translating to purchases. And by the way, there's some evidence that this is true because Twitter's ads, which run for products, have fallen in rates. It's cheaper to get them now. And you look at most of the ads now are for exposure of something rather than actually selling a product because it's not moving product because people aren't, viewing Twitter and translating it to commerce. So my question then became, well, how, like I said, how do you get people in here? How do you show them something? Even and looking at manga, you've got 20 plus shelves here, and most of the manga is stacked sideways. It's stacked spine out. Whereas a lot of the U.S. graphic novels, many of them are spine out, but there's a lot more that are cover front. But almost none of the manga was that way. Everything is stacked sideways. And it's stacked sideways because they need the room, because the stuff just keeps coming. And the comment I got back was, a lot of people come in from Funimation, certainly, or from seeing cartoons, and they want to go pick up the manga. That's a big driver of a lot of those books. The other, though, and they've tried some different experiments, is based on kind of how they're categorized. One of the concerns, and I found this interesting, is that parents come in, kids have an interest in manga. They don't know why or how the kid is getting the interest in manga. They don't know where it's coming from with the kids, but the kids are basically asking for manga. Right now, a lot of kids are asking for Demon Slayer, very popular. So what they found was if they categorize the shelves based on age group, based on here's things that are appropriate for under 12, and here's stuff that's appropriate for under 15 and under 20, and here's more adult stuff, that they got a lot of people who would come in, gravitate toward this is my age, and basically shop off the shelf that way. The other thing that they found, and by the way, does this surprise you? I doubt it, right? This is all kind of common sense. The other thing they found is that even though there was a lot of objections to this, when they tried some experiments around here's some books that boys typically like or girls typically like, or queer readers like, that generated a lot more sales than when they were just all bundled up in the shelf, because people would come in, they'd try and find themselves in the category, and then they'd buy. But again, they reiterated that social media wasn't bringing anything to the table. Now, we don't know. Nobody knows if people are viewing social media and something is getting stuck in their head like, oh, that's an interesting looking character. I'll remember that. And then they go to the bookstore and then they make that connection and they buy that way. Certainly possible. It's also very, very possible, as people pointed out before, that people are going to social media and they're kind of forming their opinions on things, and they're going in almost stealth-like, and they're basically buying the title, and they're not asking anybody for any help, especially in COVID times. Nobody's asking for help. And they're just, the stuff selling that way. But the counter argument to that is, like I mentioned before, when the store ran experiments saying, hey, here's books you like, and here's a way to get that book cheaper, nobody was taking advantage of it. Which just leads me to believe, certainly from that social media as a driver to books is pretty much a non-factor. And so things like being able to, help the customers who are coming in. I mean, this is a logic. Somebody's coming into the shop, coming into the bookstore in this case. They're coming into the bookstore not trying to buy milk or eggs or, pants. They walked into Barnes & Noble expecting there are books there, and sure enough, Barnes & Noble has books. So that's the first bit of categorization that you've already got down. Somebody is self-selecting to say, I'm looking for some books. And then when they head toward the comic, graphic novel, manga kind of area, they're saying, I want manga. I want a graphic novel. They're doing some of that work for you. So the trick becomes capturing them when they get to that point. They've already self-selected into kind of a zone of where they're looking for something to buy. Now, rather than confronting them with a giant shelf full of nonsense, you've got very specific places that they can go look and buy and do other things. The other comment the person said, which we've talked about in the past, is doing more on the spine has a huge impact. And he said that if they would start putting like a recommended for age 12 or something on the spine, kind of down at the bottom, like in a little circle, that would be huge. That they believe that would drive a lot of things. When I think about comic shops and comics in the comic shop, I think by and large there's the same problem. You've got hundreds of comics on the shelf. Usually the comic shop owner is battling to how to organize this in any kind of sane way. And it's very unclear. Like, where do I go? What do I buy? What section is for me? That is a problem that comic shops face, and it's one that the publishers could easily do. The funny thing is, if Image, Marvel, or DC, being the bigger ones, or even kind of an up-and-comer like Boom or somebody like that, IDW, if they started labeling in the top bar, kind of where Marvel used to put the big horizontal bar that said Marvel Comics, if they started putting something in there that through icons or something could indicate whether it was Elseworld, Slice of Life, Sci-Fi, for all ages, whatever it happens to be, it would have a profound impact on people who are coming into the comic shop looking for something to buy. The assumption is that, the covers is what draws them in, and I'm sure it does. But I also think that, customers have been fooled too many times by a nice painted Alex Ross cover, and then you open the comic up and it's, some mid-level intern, quality of art. And so I think the cover is not the big like buy based on that anymore. So anyway, a lot of little things to think about. I want to pass along some of that information. Again, I think a lot of this is common sense, right? But I mean, it is fascinating to see some of these books that get advertised on social media. It's like, hooray, throw a parade. And there's literally more people praising and talking about how they're going to go buy the book in the tweet than there are actual sales that we can track on Amazon, which just goes to show social media is an absolute waste of time for that kind of thing. Anyway, let me know your thoughts below. Like and subscribe, of course, and thanks for listening.